Well, welcome back, everybody. We're going to try this again. We're just going to ease into it. If you are just joining us, thank you for joining us. If you were here a little bit ago, well, Hot Mess Express and all, but I think we're okay. We'll see. Yes, internet happened, but I got some extra internet and restarted the devices because I'm running off this hotspot on this phone. That's the problem. And I needed more bandwidth, so I took care of it real quick. But now that I had to restart the PC though, because Restream didn't seem to want to work right, but it seems to be working fine now. Welcome in, Teresia. Welcome back, Real Happy. Welcome in, Pammy, and welcome back, mods, Carrie, Carolina. And I hopefully everybody who was trying to join in before can make it back. We look and we sound good for us. Cool. That's what we want. That is what we need. Let me just check. Okay, I was just checking my messages there. Make sure we are good to go. All right, we're going to get back into it. You were catching the replay, Tracy. It didn't last long, did it? It went south real quick. Real quick. Things tend to go real south real quick with me sometimes. Yeah. I hope that all of you are doing well with your weather situations. I hope the weather's being kind to you guys. I have a semi cloudy day and a semi we want a rain day, but it didn't know what it wanted to do, so it tried to rain and stopped. I heard tell we have more coming. Impossible cold front. Yeah, like it's par for the course in the winter, right? Cold front moves through. Well, in Florida, it moves through. It rains. It rains. Cold front comes through. Then cold. Like it's normal. I would be. I would probably be upset if it was hot in the winter. Like I want it to be warm in the winter, but I know that it's not good for us if it is. Tricia says she's used to things going south, right? You got to roll with the flow sometimes. If you don't learn that in life, you just beating yourself up for no reason. I learned that a long time ago. You just got to roll with it sometimes, don't you? Mid 60s, and we're in Texas with butterfly. Highs in the 70s by next week. I don't know what ours is like. It's just supposed to be cold coming back, and then I don't know. I usually take a peek when people start telling me things are happening. Oh, we're under a cold weather advisory. Wind chills as low as 21. When? What the hell? When? It doesn't matter. I'm staying inside. It don't matter to me. There we go. I don't usually only look when I hear that like something's happening. I'm like, what? What's going on? In the winter, I don't care. I try to stay inside. But it really sucks when you have to go out and do things and it's cold or raining or that wind chill is what kills me. It whips. We don't like the wind chill. Yeah, I'm over here complaining, real happy. It's just like, well, you've been 20 to 30 degrees warmer than us. And I always have to keep that in mind when I'm complaining in the winter. I'm like, yeah, but it's like everybody freaking out around here. Oh, Florida's going to get slammed. I'm like, yeah, but my peeps on the news, they're the ones getting really slammed. I'm just semi slammed. Y'all talk to me during hurricane season, right? I do. I feel bad for everybody who's in the paths of blizzards and such because I don't. Well, I know I probably would not survive. Uh-oh, more snow coming on Friday. Ugh. Some people really enjoy the snow like the way I enjoy the sunshine. It's cute and all for a minute. Okay, we're going to try or attempt to get back into our show, guys. We kind of broke our flow there. All right. So I was giving you guys a little rundown before we took the show down and had to restart. So while we were live yesterday, we realized that TMZ had gotten that email, right, with the alleged ransom note, and then it turned out a couple of other stations had also received it but didn't publicize it the way TMZ did. And then after that, we also had the reports from Brian Enton about the blood on the front steps. Remember, he was at the press conference and he asked specifically, I'm like, wait a minute, that's Brian Enton's voice. And it was him asking about that blood. So there was that we're going to take a look at. And then after that, Ashleigh Banfield goes live with Drop Dead Serious podcast and says a source of hers tells her now that, yeah, we do know that the authorities did spend like 2 hours at the home of Nancy Guthrie's other daughter. What's her name? Anne. Anyway, they towed her car, and she was one of the last person to be with Nancy, her mother, and then that her husband is a suspect. And then we saw that the sheriff's office then came out today and put out a statement saying, no, we don't have a person of interest. This was their statement, saying they don't have a person of interest at this time or have not been, and nobody's been identified as a suspect. So that's them, I guess, their way of coming out and disputing what Ashleigh's claims were. I'm not saying Ashleigh's wrong. Her sources could be right. We will see. All right, so then we're going to take a look at all that. Let me fix my screen here. This thing's in my way. You got to go. Okay, so yesterday, well, like I said, Brian was over there, and I think he was doing a live shot, but he was talking with the FBI agent, Maureen, but the helicopter showed up. Then a local media outlet reported that it was all quiet around there that day, that morning. There were no cops, there was no crime scene tape, nothing. And then all of a sudden, the helicopter shows back up, and they're all boots on the ground again. And this time, they're asking individuals that they see in the neighborhood, hey, did you see or hear anything? But at the same time, they're over here confiscating a car, right? That no person of interest. Like, what are y'all doing? Do you know anything or not? Was taking that car part of the routine to process it to make sure there's no blood evidence in the car? We saw blood evidence outside of Nancy's home. And which prompted me to go. I went back and got some more pictures because when Enton interviewed Maureen, she had a good point and it had me thinking. And I was like, we need to look at those pictures so we can put it together with what she's saying. But we're going to get to that in just a second. Let's start off with this news piece from KGUN over here in Tucson. Okay, let me get the screen up. Here's our test. Here's the test, if this is going to work or not. And if you're new to the stream, thank you for joining us. Look, it's all working correctly now. Thank you. All right. I'm just looking at y'all's comments. I got to get caught up on what my peoples are saying. We are here for conversation. Oh, what Happy, you said you were talking to Forrest. Oh, I got you. Y'all know how I am. They're like, what is she talking about? She's so confused. Y'all got it straight in the chat. That's all that matters. But y'all correct me when I'm wrong. I love that. I don't take offense to it. Yes, keep me straight. So it could be a part of the investigation, but here's one thing I did get stuck on early on when I first heard it in the written articles I was reading, that the family arrived back at when they got the call. So we're hearing she does have a car, people, and there was people in the neighborhood that said, one of the neighbors said, or the news report said, people were used to seeing her drive by. And I'm like, okay, she didn't come to church. Or it was like, oh, she must not have, her ride must not have, could have got her to the door. Can we stop with the woman couldn't drive? She couldn't walk far. That don't mean she couldn't drive a car. So apparently she did have a car, but she didn't get to church that morning. So we know that the church members called family right away. Family goes to the house. But they spend about an hour looking around for her before they call the authorities. But I don't got a problem with that, looking around the house and the property for her. But if there's blood evidence and the back door was wide open, I think I'd have been calling the 911 a little sooner. That's it. That's all I'm saying. So would that be a red flag to authorities? If it's a red flag to me, it should be to an FBI agent. Doesn't mean anything. Well, we saw that 8-hour gap in Idaho. No, it don't mean anything. Or it could not mean anything, or it could mean something. But I found that odd that this is before we saw Enton's report with the blood on the front porch. So we were hearing blood inside, blood outside, forced entry. And I thought, well, why would the family spend an hour looking for somebody if they saw that, right? That's where I'm stuck at. All right, so let's play this piece from the local media there.
For joining us, I'm Conchetta Callahan.
And I'm Pat Paris, field anchoring for a second night out here in front of 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie's home here in the Catalina foothills. Sheriff Nanos holding a news conference earlier today. We'll get the details from our Craig Smith in just a moment. We're going to begin our team coverage, though, with the latest on a ransom note that was sent to us by email here at KGUN 9 late this morning. Now, that ransom note also sent to several other media outlets, the email making specific demands for several $1 million in Bitcoin for the safe return of Nancy Guthrie. It mentions a couple of details about the home and threatens Nancy's life if payment isn't received. KGUN 9 did forward this information and the email to the Sheriff's Department and the FBI. Sheriff Nanos says they take tips and leads very seriously, and anything that comes in goes directly to detectives. And we mentioned the investigation is still underway. Let's bring in KGUN 9's Craig Smith, of course, getting national attention, as we've been talking about, Craig, because Nancy Guthrie, of course, is the mother of Savannah Guthrie, the Today Show host, and we have seen a lot going on, a lot of activity all day today.
A lot of activity, and this is really kind of a secluded neighborhood that's not easy to find by accident or find at random, but someone did find it, took Nancy Guthrie away and created a case that has caused national attention. Savannah Guthrie celebrates her connection with her mother, Nancy. These are photos shared by NBC of their mother-daughter affection. Nancy Guthrie raised Savannah here in Tucson. Now Tucson is the center of a surge growing wider by the day. Investigators are confident Nancy Guthrie did not wander off on her own. They say she is mentally sharp but physically weak, unable to walk more than a short distance on her own. Sheriff Chris Nanos has said Nancy Guthrie was pulled from her bed in a violent incident, but in the latest briefing, he was being careful not to share points of evidence, like whether someone forced their way into the house or if valuables are missing.
But we're not getting into that. What I'd tell you is, like any crime scene, we processed this crime scene. We gathered all the evidence we could, to include looking for what? Fingerprints, DNA, camera images, everything you can imagine, and we gathered that out. Those things have been submitted forward to labs, to technological companies to help us, and we're like you. We're waiting for those returns to come back.
The FBI is involved now, helping with technical skills like tracking cell phones that pass through the area. Deputies say Nancy Guthrie's house has surveillance video, but there's been no discussion of what it may have recorded. The Sheriff's Department is asking.
No discussion of what it may have recorded. Well, yeah, we don't know either. Y'all waiting on warrants, smashed cameras and all.
Neighbors to share their surveillance video to see if it reveals anything helpful. Investigators are asking you to come forward if you saw anything at all that might help find Nancy Guthrie. They often say, don't decide what you saw was insignificant. Tell them about it and let them decide if it fills a missing piece of a puzzle. Now, Pat, we were just talking about, we just saw a real display of a continued investigation just a couple of minutes ago. Let's roll some video that we saw. It's the sheriff's helicopter that made a whole bunch of passes through this area, and you had a theory as to what they might have been looking for.
Well, it's interesting because, way back in the day when I was a kid, a lot of these neighborhoods had, dirt roads down the back of them. That's where the garbage trucks would come and pick up garbage. Since then, of course, with the automation of those mechanical arms, they've moved to the front of the house and the streets. But you wonder if there might be a path still left behind back there, and they're looking at that area.
That's super interesting the way he described that, right? With the old roads that were back there, the old garbage trucks used to come through. Now they come to the front. Old trails, leftover old roads back there. We're going to take a look at some of those photos of the alleged blood here in just a few minutes, guys.
You also wonder if maybe there was a tip called in, maybe a door camera or a backyard camera that saw somebody that.
Now, there's a pretty good image of her backyard. That's why I stopped it there, because allegedly that I don't know if it was that far door to the left or a back door from the back patio there, but a back door was allegedly left open. No more lies. Hello from sunny Tampa, Florida. Hello from cloudy Northwest Florida. Howdy, neighbor-ish. Neighbor-ish.
Night walking back there.
And when we saw that helicopter continually fly a pattern from the house out to the road, out to Campbell, and in some cases up towards Sunrise, which would be the route you take if you wanted to.
So the helicopter was coming from the house and out towards Sunrise and up toward that intersection and back. What are they looking for specifically? I mean, I know they could looking for anything, but it's odd that they came back out there because they called off a ground search. Like, why would you do that? You know, you're over here, she's abducted out of her bed. There's signs of forced entry and this and that. Why are we not searching anymore? Why would you call off a search? Just in case. They could have been a robbery gone wrong and they panicked, took her with them, and they could have dropped her off somewhere. But y'all don't care? I don't know.
Make a quick move to get onto I-10.
Yeah. So interesting that it just kind of ramped up all of a sudden just before 5 o'clock and lasted over a half an hour of that helicopter flying around.
They took a lot of passengers.
Yeah, they certainly did. All right, Craig Smith, thank you very much. We're going to continue now with a look at a more detailed timeline. I brought you a timeline last time, but we've gotten more information now to get a more clearer picture of exactly what happened in this abduction of Nancy Guthrie from here at her Foothills home. Take a look. Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos confirms that 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie, was dropped off by family members at her Foothills home near Skyline and Campbell Saturday night around 9:30 or 9:45. Sheriff Nanos later confirming that Nancy Guthrie was taken from her home sometime between Saturday night and Sunday morning. Multiple outlets, including the New York Post, say law enforcement believes Guthrie's pacemaker stopped syncing with her Apple Watch and iPhone in the early hours of Sunday morning.
Now, we had heard that's really around 2 a.m. when that happened.
Both devices were left behind after her abduction. Authorities say concerned church members contacted the family when they didn't see Guthrie Sunday morning at St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church. Sheriff Nanos says family members looked for her for about an hour before calling the Pima County Sheriff's Department at about noon on Sunday. Sunday evening, Sheriff Nanos holds his first news briefing asking.
See, again, if they arrived an hour and looked around and they didn't see what we saw on the front porch, I don't know what they see on the inside of the house, but I find that odd. I don't know why. Maybe there's nothing to it, but odd.
For the public's help as search and rescue teams scoured the foothills.
And so that's why we're doing.
I mean, if you've got an elderly lady who allegedly cannot walk more than 50 feet, how long are you going to look around the property and the house for her before you realize she's gone? Did they think she just took a stroll out in the yard and fallen and couldn't get up? My word. How long did it take to search around the property in the house? It wouldn't have took me no hour. I'm busting through every room in the house. We've got people in the yard. Within 10 minutes, we're calling somebody. We need to scour. We got to move beyond this house and yard now because they're not here. Oh, wow.
All we can to try to locate her.
Monday morning, Sheriff Nanos updating the media saying Nancy Guthrie did not just walk away and that evidence processed at the home, including DNA evidence, now makes it a crime scene. He pleads with the community for help in finding Guthrie.
So we make a plea to anyone who knows anything about this, who has seen something, heard something, to contact us.
By Monday afternoon, the crime scene had been processed and the home turned back over to family members. On Tuesday morning, during a
Processed and turned back over to family members. Whoa. Hold up, we might come back later. Just the news media is going to see that blood on the front porch. And then they're going to ask questions. Why won't it play? My thing just broke. My shit just broke. For real. I said play. Wow. Can you guys even hear me?
Sheriff Nanos deflected a reporter's question about the possibility of a ransom note.
We have a team designated to deal with all of our leads. They're looking into all of that.
Yeah, and once again, after we received a ransom note this morning via email at KGUN9, we forwarded that to the Pima County Sheriff's Department and the FBI. Pima County Sheriff's Department then, after that, released a statement saying they're taking all of these reports of a possible ransom note as something that they're going to check out, and they're doing so as we speak, presumably. That'll do it for now, Conchetta, as we continue to search for more.
Okay, so that was a pretty interesting because it had a little more about the helicopters and what they were actually out there looking and doing. Looking and doing what they were looking at, what they might have been doing up there. Trying to figure out what these cops are thinking and how they're moving, right? If you're over there questioning somebody for 2 hours and taking their car, but you're over here in the neighborhood asking people at random, hey, did you see anything? Let's get the chopper back in the air. All right, so News Nation, well, a couple of outlets, but this one that we're going to watch is from News Nation. It's a clip of the audio, the scanner audio that came in from the police, and these robotic sounding calls. It reminded me so much of the audio dispatch calls in the Sebastian Rogers case. The way she was speaking, I thought, is that the same girl from the dispatch in Sebastian's case? I promise you. Butterfly, listen and tell me if you get the same vibe. Okay, let me get this ready. Jesse Weber. Okay, let me say hello to who's coming into chat. So Joy, welcome in. Oh, if the walker or cane, right? We had discussed that yesterday, and I have found images now of her, Miss Guthrie, with her cane. Somebody in chat mentioned that she did use a cane. We were like, it was a cane or a walker. She had to use one of the two, right? And if you saw her device in the home, her cane or a walker, that tells you she didn't go for a walk, right? Didn't go for no walk. Holly, welcome in. Welcome in. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, anybody that's new here, Feather, welcome in. We appreciate you guys coming in and join the conversation. That's what we like around here. Okay, so let me get this screen brought up. Brian Enton was over on with Jesse Weber. Brian was a busy man, wasn't he? Yesterday, he was so busy. Okay. And they're going to play you a portion of that audio.
Audio from when Nancy was first reported missing on Sunday. I want to play it, and then I want to get to you, Brian, on your take on it. Let's take a listen.
Nancy, a white female, 84 years of age, 5'2" medium build, powder blue. After 2,200 hours as of yesterday. Nancy has high blood pressure, pacemaker, and cardiac issues.
Brian, that's key.
So they said she has high blood pressure, pacemaker, and cardiac issues. And that was called in immediately. Or that was information was obtained right there on the spot, and there she was relaying it back over.
Right, when we talk about the medication, when we talk about...
Yes, all of her belongings were still in the home. Her purse, her keys, her watch, her phone, everything. She's just gone, vanished into the night, right?
About the pacemaker, that is a race against time. What did you take away from that audio?
Yeah, I mean, I pick up on the pacemaker comment. We've reported that she has the pacemaker, that it connected to the Apple Watch, that the Apple Watch was charging, and that the last time the pacemaker connected to the Apple Watch was around 2 a.m., which is presumably around the time she was kidnapped, because that's why it stopped connecting to the Apple.
So if the phone is there charging and she leaves the property, phone is there. Once she's out of reach, it's not going to connect anymore. I'm not familiar with these devices. I don't know anybody that has one. So does it still register with like the doctor's office? I don't know how these things work, right? Ugh. So I don't know. I saw the report. Somebody said that they saw that it was still responding. I'm like, well, how do we know that, right? I didn't see that anywhere. So, not saying that's not the case. Hey, Seeking Justice, welcome in. Welcome in. Thanks for the likes and the shares, guys. I appreciate it. Helping us get into the algorithm and get some more of a conversationalist into the building, right? That's what we love.
Watch. So that's kind of what I was thinking about when I was listening to it. But yeah, it's key just because she's an 84-year-old woman who needs her medication. And I think that's one of the reasons it's sort of a race against time here. As more time passes and she doesn't have the medicine, the outcome looks more and more grim.
Okay, there's going to have a discussion now. Two things. If law enforcement's legitimately looking at, say, the daughter and the son-in-law, what's up with these ransom notes? Right? What's up with the ransom notes? Is that BS? Some crazies out here in the world? Tricia, my nephew's pacemaker would send alerts to his doctor, right? Like if something abnormal was going on, would it like an alert notification, an alarm type thing? I don't know how they work. So I would hope that it's still able to respond to medical personnel, right? In whatever state that they do that. That would be a huge help. I know in the Bill and Peggy Stevens case, they were able to pinpoint the time of death for Mr. Stevens because he had a pacemaker. They know exactly when the device stopped when he was murdered. So that was the audio scanner just giving the details about her medical condition. Okay, so now we're going to look at a little piece by Butterfly. This was Enton's show with Maureen from yesterday evening. If you want to drop that link, one of you mods. Remember when we were reporting, we were on our live yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, just wait, guys. You know he's going to have a video drop tonight, right?" He did. Of course he did. So we're going to take a look at a specific portion of that instead of watching the whole thing. But I encourage you guys to go watch it. It's a great conversation as usual. He's chatting with Maureen, and the other gentleman that joins him, if I'm not mistaken, he is either he's Maureen's co-host on her podcast or he's one of her guests on there a lot. I know I've listened to him on there before. Hold on one second, guys. I think there's somebody at the door. Hold on. Okay. It's not for me. Um, Real happy. You know several people with pacemakers that do send info to the doctor, but only if it's something problematic, right? Okay. And sure, there's a variety of options. Yeah. So if she's not getting her medication, like it's been, since Saturday, so that that she probably didn't get any meds on Saturday, probably did on Friday, or she probably did on Saturday, and then they drop her off Saturday night. No meds on Sunday, none on Tuesday. Here it is Wednesday. Would there start to be a problem with her health that would trigger an alert to the doctor? And that information they are not letting out if they do have that. They've kind of, oh, they did also put out, after they put out the statement on the X page of the sheriff's department stating no suspects at this time. They also came out with another release right behind that one stating that the sheriff would not be doing media today. They're like, he's wore out, people. His anxiety's got the best of him. I'm sorry, it's so obvious. All right, let me get my timestamp here. All right, let me get the screen up. Now, this is specifically talking about the blood evidence outside, and I've got some photos we'll take a look at in a minute. All right, so this is Brian Enton, and this is Maureen. He's been interviewing her a lot lately. She's a retired FBI agent, and she owns a large security firm in Beverly Hills, not far from the home of the Reiners. Anyway, she's a pretty smart cookie.
Also a newly retired FBI agent. I want to start with you, Maureen. This video that we got of the blood spatter outside the front door. What do you make of that?
Well, a couple of things jump out to me. The first being that there aren't any bloody footprints. And if she had been bleeding like that through the house, we would have seen.
Yeah, she stopped communicating with her. Hey, Dolphin, welcome in. So the Apple Watch was on charge, and it stopped what we've been told so far is it stopped communicating with that device at around 2 a.m. So we know that happened. What we were wondering is if it would still alert the doctor in some way if something had happened or if there was a problem.
Bloody footprints, or perhaps a void where there's blood around the foot, but not under where her feet would have been. It leads me to think that there is a chance that she may have been carried out. Also, the blood droplets are generally round in shape, which means that they came from directly above, as opposed to being cast off. They don't appear to have anything to do with high velocity impact or anything like that. So it makes me very sad to see that.
Are you surprised that it's still?
So the way she's describing that, guys, and when we look at the photos, we can absolutely see that. 'Cause we all noticed that this yesterday. So, but the back door, according to Ashleigh Banfield's sources, was wide open. So, but we got blood outside the front door, and we also see that's where the camera's missing. What's going on here? They enter through one and leave through another, and did they carry her out? Because as I went back listening to Maureen, like where's the trail of blood? Where are any footprints? And that's when I went back and got some photos for us to take a look at.
There, because the crime scene is over. It's all opened back up. We just went to knock on the door and saw the blood there.
No.
Is that the usual?
No, I mean, I was at a shooting one time where when the Bureau got done with it, there was such a large amount of blood that we just power washed it off, but only because the shooting happened to occur in one of those stalls for a car wash. So when we looked around and they're like, is this a biohazard or whatever? I said, well,
Pammy, here's the thing. They said that they did use a blue light in the home as well. That's what the sheriff said. And they have presumptive blood, right? And they sent it to their DNA lab. Well, they had to send it to Phoenix because their DNA lab was broken. But it's come back for her blood only. We don't know if that was tested from outside. We don't see any images of crime scene markers down or anything like that. But we don't know if that blood that was tested came from outside or inside the home. And they claim right now it's only her blood coming back.
I've got 75 cents. And I just put it in the machine and just power washed it off, and it was done. That was after, obviously, they're going to have to photograph it. They're going to have to measure.
Yeah, usually once they release a crime scene, it's up to the people to clean it themselves. You can hire companies that actually do it out there that come in and clean the crime scenes up real quick like. Danny, be safe driving. Thank you for listening while you're driving.
Measure or put a good enough scale in there, meaning a ruler, so that they can determine exactly what size the droplets are, what directionality, where they point, and reference photographs, all kinds of stuff like that. Once they do that, and they do sample testing, so you'll notice in those blood, they're different colors. Like one of them appears to have a lot more brown in it. Some of them appear to be more red. Are those from two different individuals? I don't think so. If I'm looking at who the potential offender is for this, it's probably a young male, and she is an 84-year-old lady with health issues. My guess is it's going to be her blood, but we could be wrong. I doubt it, though. And so you're not just going to test the blood in one spot. You're going to test it in a number of spots, anything that looks different. And you just have to do a sampling that's good enough to stand up in court to say that we did our due diligence and we looked at every angle that we possibly could, and this is what we came up with. So they'll be testing all that blood. The sheriff already said in a podcast late last night that he was submitting that for Rush, and it's rapid DNA, but he's sending it to the lab for a Rush.
Okay, so they're just really talking now about that, sending it over to Phoenix Lab. And yeah, we talked about that in the show yesterday, Dolphin, the hot, nervous Nelly over there, the sheriff. It didn't take everybody around him quickly to realize we need to give this sheriff a break. He needs to stop talking. He has said some different things, but not enough things. And what he has said is just like, what, sir? Could you elaborate? We need to know more. Butterfly, are you in chat? Forrest, you're here. I think Rachel. One of y'all, can y'all drop the link to this episode from last night? Yeah, there's things about the kidnapping, Dolphin, that bother me as well. The medication. Would they have known she needed her medication to be okay? Would they have taken it as a precaution to make sure they had it? Where are they keeping her? There's a lot, right? It doesn't make sense. Is this just a random, I'm going to break into your house, and she becomes awake? Why take her? Especially if you injure her in some way or whatever, why even take her at all? There's a lot of questions we were unpacking yesterday as well. Okay, so let's take this down a minute and look at some of these photos. Thank you, Butterfly. There's the link to the show that Brian had up if you guys want to go take a look at that. Very interesting conversations that they have. Okay, I do have, now this was taken, I think, after the cops spent a couple of hours on scene yesterday. That is the daughter and the brother-in-law, son-in-law, daughter and son-in-law leaving their home after the cops were there yesterday. Now, I'm assuming they have two vehicles and they only took the one. So I'm assuming they took the one that they took her home in that night. And look, they're like, now I get why they would hide their faces, especially if they're innocent of anything, right? Those were published by The Sun, by the way. Okay, so if you notice on this image that I just put up, that's the gravel path leading up to the front door. It's hard to tell from this image, obviously, but we don't see any blood on the path. Maybe sneezed or coughed. Simi Sharp and I talked about that briefly yesterday as well. I think it was Simi who also brought that up, because you can tell, we're going to look at that image. I think I've got those uploaded as a closer view here. Okay, so then we go up to the next one, and I kind of just went in the order so you get a better look. This one is just a little closer, right? And you don't see the blood yet until you get up on the porch, but I'm not seeing any right there on the little step up to the patio. And I still don't see any at the gravel, but it's hard to tell from these kind of photos, right? And I didn't see any in Brian's video. But as you get to the landing there at the little patio porch, you can see things on the patio. All right. And then this one, it's a little better. And this one area up at the top right, the larger, that is, I can't make it zoom in, but that's the spot where it appears cough happened. Everything else is like Maureen described, straight up, drop down. But where are any footprints? Doesn't mean there would be footprints. Maybe the home isn't just, she may just have one injury, right? And if she bleeds easily, it wouldn't take much to cause bleeding. So it could be a serious injury, or it could be a very small, non-life threatening injury at the same time. But it is the way these drops are down, and then with that spot we see where it appears someone may have coughed. Was she carried out? I don't think this would mean she was carried out just because we don't see a footprint. But how she had to have assistance to walk away if she didn't have her cane or walker or whatever she was using. And then this is just a closer up image of that doorbell camera, or the camera itself. The doorbell is actually on the other thing there. But that's the one that Brian asked about. And they have now come out and said, well, this Banfield, we're going to take a look at her reporting, that it was smashed and then the authorities took it. Like, which one is it, right? Yes, she was on the blood thinner, so I had and you can tell she bruises easily on her arms. That's normal. So anything like my dad, she is going to bleed very easily. And the smallest things can cause a lot of blood loss. That's the risk with those kinds of medications. All right. So it's just interesting to note about the blood on the front porch and what Maureen's description. We always I'd like to get what does Joe Morgan think, or Joe Scott. I haven't seen him even anywhere talking about this yet, but I didn't really go seek it out yet either. But I always love to get experts' takes on photos like that of what they could mean. Could be well, the nosebleed still, the way that the drops are coming like that, yes, absolutely, could be. And then a cough at the same time producing that other spot we saw. That makes perfect sense, right? Yes, Simi Sharp. I knew you couldn't. Thank you. Thank you for listening and lurking. I appreciate you. OG Feisty Cooter, welcome in. You don't think she was taken by someone she knew? Yeah. It's, I know that there was one account out there posting on X information about the daughter, and already, and I was made aware of that yesterday, but I didn't see them posting anything negative. I really didn't look hard at what they were posting because I kind of know better. But then the Banfield piece, right, came out. So let's take a look at what was actually said. And y'all know how we take these sources with big ass grains of salt. I don't care who they are. Chris McDonough, Ashleigh Banfield. We all got sources. I got sources. Sometimes I'm my own source. I just got to go. I'll see something or I'll hear something. I'm like, I'll be back later. And then I have to go look for myself and figure everything out and then go back and see if I got the same thing they got. Did we get the same takeaway in the end or did we not? That's how I usually roll with something, especially new information. I might catch it here, but I'm going to turn that off immediately and go do my own thing and then come back. Okay. Let's pull up this Banfield's. Oh, wait. I got to go to YouTube for that. And this will be one of you mods. Can you drop the link to that show as well? It was her last, I think it was her last episode. It dropped dead serious. It was last night, I believe. And you guys can go check out the whole show if you would like to do so. Okay, let me get this set up. All right. All right, got it set up here. And we'll play some of this and see what Ashleigh has to say.
And she will not be at the Winter Olympics at all for that coverage. Helicopters showed up above Brian Enton while he was doing a live report today, above Nancy Guthrie's house. And it was the sheriff's helicopter. And there was a guy hanging out of it. And it was low. It was low enough to see him hanging out of it and looking around. And that wasn't the only emergency vehicle either. I'm going to tell you about that when I talk to Brian. There's another vehicle that was law enforcement related, and it does speak volumes to what might have happened that sent those two vehicles out, the helicopter and the pickup truck. Tell you that in a moment. First,
the pickup truck. Tell us more, Ashleigh.
Just let me tell you some devastating stuff. So my law enforcement source tells me that the back door of the Guthrie home was the door that was left wide open. Was it the point of entry? Was it the point of egress? Don't know that. But it was open, wide open, and it was in the back, not the front. Brian Enton saw blood at the front door. So did a struggle happen at the front door? Was there a doorbell rung at 2 a.m.? Why was the back door open? A lot of questions there, but the back door, according to my law enforcement source, was left wide open. I told you already, 100% blood inside the house. My law enforcement source told me that police have now towed and impounded the vehicle belonging to Nancy Guthrie's daughter, Annie Guthrie. This is important because you've heard that the last point of contact with Nancy Guthrie was when she was dropped off by her daughter at 9:45-ish at night on Saturday night.
Yeah, so they're about to get into it, but I was noticing, so where was it? Did Ellie say they didn't walk her to the door? I don't know for sure if they walked her inside the home or not. You would think at least to the door, right? And as far as her living alone, if she sounds so far like a really independent lady, so I don't know, if she's really sharp in the mind and I just can't walk to the kitchen without my walker, she might not have wanted anybody living in the home with her. Could there be better lighting? Probably so. But and as far as employees of the home, you can bet, hopefully, take the sheriff. The sheriff is not boots on the ground out there investigating anything. He's just the talking man, right? And talking man's tired, so he needs to go sit down. But if you're law enforcement, you're going to look at the very first people around her. Of course, you're going to look at the people in the home that may have worked there, with landscapers, housekeepers, delivery person, people, all the things you would hope they look at first.
So Annie Guthrie, and possibly her husband as well, Tommaso Cioni, were the last people to see her at 9:45 at night, Saturday night. Sunday morning, 11 a.m., church members reached out to the family. Hey, your mom wasn't in church. Not normal. She's always there. What's up? Family member goes over, calls, family member or members, goes to the house, calls 911, and the investigation begins. But they have towed Annie Guthrie's car. And there is some connection to Annie Guthrie's car and Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law. That would be Annie's husband, Tommaso Cioni, age 50, from Tucson, Arizona, married to Annie P. Guthrie, Savannah's sister.
JLR was the one that started posting stuff on X, at least yesterday that I know of, showing their images and some information about them. But he has me blocked on X, but I can still see his shit. But I didn't see any accusations, but I didn't go look, right? It's him, so I don't look. But then the Ashleigh stuff. But of course, like I said, grain of salt, it's a source with information. We know that it may or may not be true.
And my law enforcement source tells me that Tommaso Cioni is the prime suspect in this case. Again, law enforcement source tells me that Nancy Guthrie's son-in-law, married to Annie Guthrie, Savannah's sister, is maybe a prime suspect in this case. At the very least, let me tamp that down, because sometimes it's the first person you're looking at, not prime as in there's no one else. Okay, so let's be really mindful of that. Families are always looked at first as well. It doesn't mean right away. Listen, Ed Smart was targeted for weeks as, without question, somebody they needed to look at. Possible suspect, right? Heartbreaking for Ed and Lois Smart, because it wasn't them who took Elizabeth, right? But
here's the thing with these media people. Harvey from TMZ didn't waste no time running to air with his little, I got an email about a ransom note, right? Take it all with a grain of salt. We don't like everybody we watch. I don't. But who knows at this point if there's anything to it? That's the danger with social media, pointing fingers. If they took the car, was it part of the routine investigation, right? To make sure. And that alone triggers all the other stuff that comes after it. All it could take is something that simple. So yes, the people have to be careful pointing fingers without any evidence, right? And making accusations. But who knows if I can trust Banfield's reporting any more than I can TMZ's. But apparently TMZ wasn't the only one to get the ransom note. They're just the only ones that went public with it.
that's what happens. When anything happens like this, familial abductions, the family's looked at first, and Annie and or Thomas O'Cioni were the last people to
Some of us hang on every word TMZ says.
see Nancy Guthrie at 9:45 at night, the night before she disappeared, abducted, kidnapped. Kidnapped was the word that the sheriff used with me. But it's very distressing to think that this law enforcement source is telling me that Thomas O'Cioni is maybe a prime suspect in this case at this point, and that the car belonging to Annie has been towed and impounded and is in evidence. That's the word that was used with me. This law enforcement source also said to me, who has the motive to kidnap an 84-year-old woman? The way it was described to me is, that's a burden, right? It's a burden to kidnap an 84-year-old woman with mobility issues needing medication. That is a burden. And then this law enforcement source said, so you look at people who would have a benefit to an 84-year-old woman going away, disappearing or dying. Sometimes it's somebody who has an insurance benefit from that. Sometimes it's somebody who may benefit because there's a debt, and that may be helpful. These are just musings. They are not evidence, okay? But they are musings from people I trust implicitly due to their...
You know what, though? The thing about these media personalities that we don't trust, there's a whole lot of YouTubers I don't trust either. So it's like everywhere, right? Everywhere. Yeah. There's a lot of things about these investigations that are going to be routine. Looking at the individuals that were employed at the home, looking at the spouse or the closest family members or the closest relatives, the last known people to see a person alive. All of those things are normal and routine and should be expected in every case. If they're not doing their job correctly. It's a given. Canvass the area, canvass the neighborhood, canvass the businesses. We need everybody's footage as well. And here's the tip line. Boy, we know how these sources work. We saw how messed up they got in the Idaho 4 case. Started talking from the get-go.
Their longevity in the business of investigating this exact kind of thing. I told you already about the pacemaker information. The law enforcement sources have narrowed it down to the kidnapping happening at 2 a.m. based on the pacemaker stopping at 2 a.m.
So she will also report that the cameras were smashed out, right? And then that's how the one was taken from the front porch by law enforcement. And other than that, other than the son-in-law giving his wife, Anne Guthrie, durable power of attorney, I don't know why that ever occurred. Like, was there a medical condition? Was there a legal trouble. Why would he do that? That's the only odd thing I've seen about the two. Other than that, I know what he does for a living. I know what she does for a living. I've got a lot of information on the two of them. They seem like normal people. They lived down the street from her. They had a pretty nice house themselves. They both had good careers. It's just what would prompt them to do anything, right? What would prompt anybody to do anything, obviously. But if I'm going to look at them, I got to figure out why would they do that, especially if they, by all appearances, are good people, right? And they're both well involved with the community as well.
That's when they believe Nancy was taken from that house. All forms of DNA were submitted, right? But the sheriff himself said that it came back. Like, so far, the details that have come back have not pointed to a suspect, which tells them that it was likely Nancy's blood, not a suspect. Or at least nothing has come back yet to point to a suspect regarding the blood. My law enforcement source said that they will be searching every single cell phone ping, the geofencing, all the rest. This source told me that.
I was wondering, okay, so we talked about that a little bit yesterday about the tower dumps they've already done. I was like, okay, the geofencing, when they go back in time, they can look through the dumps. What number doesn't belong here? What number does? What number lingered? What number this? What number that? So if they're getting all these warrants and getting these returns and pouring, and the FBI cast is the ones pouring, it's not the sheriff going through these reports coming back from these tower dumps. So I'm just gonna let that little man rest. It's FBI cast who's taking a look at all that, right? So how quickly are they getting that information back, and what does it yield? What's it showing them? Yeah, I'm thinking investigation stuff. The possible family drama is like, what? From what I saw, they look like normal kind of people, but you never know. Sometimes normal is quite scary. Geofencing could give them some good info. It'll give them, if there was any phones, say the perpetrator came with a phone because they're a little bit don't know no better, burner phone or even their actual phone, it'll show up in that geofence warrant. As long as it was connecting to a tower, right? It's going to show up. And then this is the problem with geofencing. 50 numbers just popped up. Which one do we go into now with a search warrant, or do we go without a search warrant? We got to have a search warrant now to go any further to obtain information about that phone. And so that was one of the contingents, the problems with the geofencing as far as the law goes. And there's been like Supreme Court hearings and stuff about it. But they're still using geofencing, regardless of what that guy over there in Delphi will tell you. We're still using geofence, Nick.
This is someone who knew where the cameras were. Somebody who was familiar with this home, this premises, this woman. They knew where the cameras were in order to smash those Nest cameras, plural. Okay? And as far as the
cameras, plural, we kept hearing there are cameras in the home, and then the sheriff kind of like he did. So are there really cameras in the home? Plural. It's hard to tell at the back door because the way that awning off the patio is there, you can't really see it. I haven't seen an image yet. So, and like I said, if there's cameras within the home, wouldn't they be connected to the device so the daughters could keep an eye on mom in case she fell or whatever, medical emergency? Mom herself could view it. If she's at church, she could look in the house and, all the things. What could that tell them? And you would think, though, if it's the middle of the night, say you can see your mom's house, all inside the house, but it's the middle of the night, everybody's asleep, you're not getting an alarm that someone's inside your mom's house for you to wake up and view the camera, right? But could you wake up the next day and see it? Don't know. They said they had the warrants already gone out for all that, Dolphin. So they were waiting on warrants as of yesterday's press conference.
The TMZ ransom note, my source says that they don't believe that this is real. They think it's
conflicting sources and reports now. So Ashleigh's source doesn't believe that it's real. We all know darn good and well if 3 entities, 3 media outlets receive this notice, all 3 have turned that over to the authorities. They're absolutely trying to figure out that IP address, fake or not. Sir, ma'am, whoever you are, you can't do that. What are you doing? Right? That's illegal. No, stop that. They're looking to find out who that person was by tracing the IP address. If they can, long as we didn't have a too smart of a person, they can absolutely figure that out. So they're working on that, as well as the daughter and son-in-law. Meanwhile, Maureen theorizes it's a young white male. Oh, conflicting stuff.
just troublemakers trying to insert themselves into this story. Could that change? Yes. I just want to give you a little bit of information on Thomas Osioni, Annie Guthrie's husband, whom at this point I am told again may be a prime suspect in this case. He's 50, from Tucson. His bio from a website that's an Italian website, an official Italian website for the Taparulan Society, Cultural Association, the Taparulan Cultural Association, a nonprofit focused on promoting contemporary artists. His bio says, I was born in San Giovanni, Valdarno on June 18, 1975. Since 2006, I have lived in Tucson, Arizona. I write when I have the chance. I study lizards. I play the electric bass. I make homemade pasta. LinkedIn reports that Thomas Osioni is a teacher at Basis Oro Valley School from 2007 until present. Says,
and I'm going to tell you, not only is Ashleigh putting all that out there, but every article I read, all that's out there now. Where he works, what school it's a charter school. It's all out there.
He's a primary instructor for 6th grade science and AP biology. Reverb Nation, that's a music website, says that he put out an album with a 3-man music group called, but that's all I know about Annie Guthrie's husband, who, again, one law enforcement source, very connected, highly regarded, impeccable credentials, knowledge of this investigation, says that Tommaso Cioni, Annie P. Guthrie's husband, may be the prime suspect in this case, and Annie's vehicle has been towed, impounded, and is now in evidence. Very distressing. So Brian Enton is with me from News Nation. He's been doing some incredible work since landing on the ground in Tucson. Brian, you have done, again, some outstanding reporting out in front of Nancy Guthrie's home. When the crime scene was turned over to the family, you found a blood trail.
Yeah, we did. And I was kind of surprised, Ashleigh, that it was not a crime scene anymore. I don't know why I just expected that they would still have some tape outside. Or, when you cover these things, they'll have like one police car that stays behind. Everybody left. I mean, it was just empty, except there were some, what I thought were family members coming and going today. I don't know who they were. So we decided, let's just go knock on the door and see if anybody is home, just to kind of see what's going on, since it's not a crime scene. It's all open back up. And so walking up to the front door, you could see that there was blood right outside the front door on the ground, like on the stoop right there, right near the front mat going in. Just, not a ton of blood, but it was definitely blood. It was all right there. And then when you looked up, you could see where the camera was, right by, almost like where it looked like a doorbell, but it was a camera, and the camera was gone.
Well, and my information from my source is that those cameras were smashed, not just the front one. There was a second one. Whoever did this knew there were 2, smashed them. So presumably the fact that you saw that they're gone means that the police took them for evidence.
Yeah, well, what's interesting, though, is when I asked the sheriff, I was at the press conference and I asked the sheriff, we noticed that the camera is gone in the front. Do you think the perpetrator took the camera? He said, we noticed that too, and all of that is under investigation. So it was kind of strange. Like, I don't know. He didn't give me an answer. Like, was it the perpetrator who took the camera? Was it the police who took the camera? But he acknowledged that they also noticed that the camera was gone.
I think he's having to answer in real time to, investigative information and evidence that he doesn't want out there, probably.
Yeah, that guy. So that's really about the gist of that whole conversation that I wanted to get into here. That sometimes they're looking at the right person. Sometimes they get talked about in the media like this, and they're not the right person at all. So it's that thing. Now I do know that there's no images of this car being towed. I didn't see any on the internet. I didn't see any on anybody's reporting. But I did see images of the police at the home yesterday of Anne or Annie, whichever it is. And they were there about 2 hours. Now that's probably routine par for the course. Now, why are they also out there at the same time with a helicopter and boots on the ground again? Are they just still looking at all angles because they just don't have anything other than nothing? And there was another image I did see on the news, and I was able to really get a good look. They're walking out of the driveway of a neighboring home, and there's a man standing in the garage. But what I noticed is right above his garage, he has a camera, a nice one, trained right on his driveway. But the house sits so far back from the street, and all the brush lining the street between that and the home, you're not going to see a lot, right? And I thought, well, damn, let's think about those cameras. They're going to see you once you're in their yard and on their porch, but out in the road, some of them may not see a lot of anything. Now, we do know that he was a 6th grade science and AP biology teacher. I think he's done that since 2015. He's lived in the Tucson area since 2006. He is part of the, Taparolin Cultural Association. Annie herself, she's a poet and a writer and a jeweler. She's written a book. She has a pretty good job. She's a director at a poetry center. She also has a metalsmithing shop where she makes her jewelry. So, I haven't seen anything crazy about them, like they're broke or they're bankrupt or somebody's on drugs or any of the things or life insurance. We haven't seen none of that craziness. But that don't mean JLR's not on that shit. If y'all are saying he's reporting stuff. Forrest, did you have to remove somebody earlier? Did I miss something? Or are y'all talking about something else? I just caught a glimpse of that. Oh, okay. Got you, Rachel. Thank you for answering that question. I had to ask my mod a question, make sure I was on the right page with everybody. No cars seen in and out of the property. No, Carolina. We looked at the map yesterday. You can see. We'll look at it again if y'all want, but you can see there's no. The neighbors are her property was just under an acre, like legit, just under an acre. So the neighbors are spread out, and there's a lot of thick brush in between the homes and lining the street between the home and the road, right? And so any cameras are going to be on the homes themselves, set back off the road, obscured by the brush. And there was nobody directly across the street from her. There was a little road, but it was a cul-de-sac or dead end down there. Carrie got muffins going and they smell good. I don't watch JLR, guys. I don't watch anything he does. I couldn't tell you what that old guy's been up to. I've been blocked on the X by him for years. Like a long time. And I don't even know why. After you used my comments a couple of times in your ridiculous videos, because it was like a good comment, then you go and block me. Probably because I had good comments. He's like, oh, we can't with her. I don't take it personally. He's JLR. Shit. I honestly don't want no interactions with him because I don't want to end up in a court document or anything like that. I don't play with some people. They're not worth it. I don't watch the Bullhorn Betty people. I don't venture off into those. I tell y'all to be careful in them YouTube streets. Y'all think I just make that up. I'm being dead ass serious. Y'all know that. I know to be careful on them streets. Mm, damn. I know who to take with a big grain of salt and who not to. I should by now. I've been around a minute. I've learned the hard way a few times. And I also can see right through the BS. One minute this person's great, and the next minute they're talking smack about everybody and kind of like throwing shade, and like the next minute they're cool again. I'm like, what are y'all doing? Don't trust those true crimers. But today I'm covering true crime, and don't trust those people who don't show their face on the YouTube. Like what? Okay. I try to make the content stand alone, and hopefully I just come across I'm trustworthy, right? Not that I come across as it, but that what we're doing here is normal. We're not doing anything abnormal. But yeah, we don't watch those fools. Birthday cake muffins. Oh, Carrie, nice. Got a birthday in the house. Is it your daughter's birthday? You said you were making them for your daughter. Is that what you said? Y'all are making me get hungry. I late last night, well, not late, about 11 o'clock, I got hungry. I was like, where did that come from? Well, I kind of know where it came from, but I got hungry. Oh, girl had to get some Waffle House in the house. I hadn't had Waffle House in a long time, but I wanted it to be hot when it got here. And it's just down the street, so I did get my Waffle House in. Now like, and that's just, I didn't eat this morning yet. Now I'm getting hungry. I usually eat before I go live so I don't go hangry. We don't like all that. So, we can take a look at some of the stuff to do with the daughter and her husband. It just feels kind of weird to go exploring into their lives when I don't know if I need to at this point, right? We don't know more than what Banfield reported. And then also with the cops coming out and saying, no, 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 we don't have a person of interest and we don't have a suspect we're going to name. Do they even know anything at this point? Other than what we know so far, back door wide open, allegedly. The cops themselves say there is signs of forced entry. Was the back door lock broken? Did somebody kick the door in? Did they bust a little window out, reach in and unlock? Was there a window on the back door? Some people have them and some don't. Tricia, stop it now, because I threatened smash burgers and fries tonight, but I didn't prepare for it, so it's not going to happen. But I had that on my mind last night, and I thought, you know what, I can make that for dinner tomorrow. I do love me a good smash burger. Like, I've been craving a good burger lately. Simi says she's just trying to build her new channel. Yeah, Ashleigh Banfield. Oh, look, I've been watching her report since the 1990s. She's evolved. She went from undercover in the Gulf War and Afghanistan and all these things and transitioned into now crime stuff, whatever. It's no surprise to me she's done found the YouTube streets. Look at how the success Brian Enton has. East Idaho News, right? But she's not gone from News Nation. They're now going to be airing her Drop Dead Serious podcast. She's like, oh, y'all want me? You're going to do it my way. You're going to do it my way, News Nation. And they're like, okay, yeah, I don't know. A lot of people I know during the height of the Idaho 4 stuff just went all in on the hatred to Banfield because she reported the opposite of what they wanted to hear. But everybody, there's certain people I don't like and can't stand either. Kind of like that Nancy Grace. Doesn't mean I like her because I'll watch her, like, personally. Probably couldn't stand to be in the room with her too long. She might get on my nerves. But I'll be watching some Nancy Grace. I've been watching her since the 90s. Good Lord. These ladies been around a hot damn minute. A hot minute. But we'll have to keep an eye on Enton's reporting. If y'all don't like Ashleigh's, keep an eye on Enton's. Y'all go choose who you want to get your, your information from. That's what we say around here, for sure. Let me see. I'm looking at chat. Yeah, we're getting super weird and conflicting information. Don't we always? We got to keep it close to the vest. You're like, we know, we get that, but damn, could you confirm or deny some of the stuff we're hearing? Could you possibly do that, Jet, see, Julie Grant gets me. I cannot with downtown Julie Brown, right, Forrest? He knows. She got all fired up one time in the Delphi case. I was like, go, Julie. That was that one time, though. After that, it was like, what are you doing, lady? We all have our peeps, right? Not everyone's going to enjoy me. Some people will and some people won't. Yes, real happy. We prefer the official updates and info in the court docs around here. We love some court docs around here. So far, we're not getting any of that. We're getting speculation, right? So I'm trying to really keep a good eye on facts that might come out, like this blood, like the forced entry. Only thing taken was her. No medication, because we're going to perform a kidnapping and we need to keep her alive. No robbery. Purse was there, card was there, keys were there, credit cards were there, debit card was there, jewelry was there. Not a robbery. Robbery gone wrong? Wouldn't they just have bolted and ran away instead of taking the whole ass victim with them? That's a lot of evidence to lug around now. Somebody in chat mentioned SA. I'm like, well, did they not realize once they broke in that their potential victim was an elderly lady and flee the scene? Or they decided to take her with them? We still have that issue. She's gone from that house. What prompted that? The only thing in my mind that makes sense is a kidnapping. Why would you do that? Why would you kidnap an elderly lady? For what? To bake you a cake? Why take the lady? I don't get it. Court TV is court TV. They're just here to report on, cases and crime. That's why I seek information in many different places, and those are not my first go-tos. Trust me. Like I said, I could hear something and I'm going to turn it off immediately, and I'm going to do my own research. And then I might go back and see, are they full of shit, or how did they take it? Same as I took it. That's how I usually try to work things out in my head, because I don't like being told, right? You can tell me all day long, and I might watch your broadcast, but I might have to go. So I try to show you guys where I got it from. Take a little bit of guesswork out of there. So, Joy, we always end up going toward the food, especially as dinner time starts to approach. Yeah, I think so too, Dolphin. That would have occurred in the home and they had just left, right? Why take her? It's not unheard of for elderly women to be SA'd in their homes. It's not unheard of. It has happened in my area, and it's sickening when you hear it. You're like, what the hell? Really? But why take her? It doesn't make any sense, right? That part is what we don't understand. I don't think it was an SA attempt or anything to do with that. I just have a hard time buying that theory. Socket. Okay, I said that wrong. 83 Socket. Who here thinks that we're being not told everything they know this far? Yes, I don't think we're being told everything. And what do they know is fact, right? They were waiting yesterday in the press conference. They were waiting on search warrants to come through to get into these devices and to get into the clouds or the servers, rather. The servers. No cloud accounts, the servers, he said. So they're getting into that. So what facts do they have? And And what is her device going to yield? Was she having communication with someone that day? Was there a communication between her and an employee of the property? Or, did she get a text, "Hey, we're coming to kidnap you"? I mean, what is her phone going to tell them other than her a routine, right? Um, unless they text a note to her phone, I don't know. That's what I'm saying, Pammy. Also, why not take the meds to keep her alive? If it's a planned kidnapping and you plan to seek ransom, you need to keep her alive, right? So there's a lot of things that don't make sense about it. It's hard to believe somebody broke into the house to rob or SA, become startled, and then take her with them. It's also hard to believe that it was maybe the kidnapper didn't know she needed all those meds. You got somebody half cocked here, right? It could be that. But you'd think if it was planned, that they would know to take, if it was somebody who knew her, right? They'd have to know her. Like somebody who worked in the home with her, the housekeeper, may have known she needed these medications to stay alive. But the random Joe Blow from down the road who knows this old lady might have some money because her daughter is a celebrity of sorts, they may not be aware of the medication issues. And are they going to care? I heard that socket that they went to dinner and was playing the game. And is it weird? I don't know. Where were they playing it at? The restaurant? Because they just dropped her off at home. They don't mention going in and playing the game at that point, right? Just dropping her off. Pammy, I haven't heard diabetic. We've just heard that the audio dispatch that we listened to earlier just cited the pacemaker and the high blood pressure and the heart issues. Nothing about a diabetic at that we heard. I haven't heard anything yet. Yeah, well, the sheriff did come out and say early on, I think right at the first press conference, that the security team for Savannah was working with them. Now, would that be them reaching out to her, "Hey, have you received anything?" Or would it be her team saying, "Hey, we received this"? So if there's a legit ransom note that was sent to Savannah directly, you damn well bet FBI's all over that. They'd be foolish not to be. You can bet she turned it over to the FBI. I doubt she would be like, "Don't tell nobody, we're going to pay this ransom and get my mama back." The FBI's like, "The minute you get a ransom note, you better let us know." So I'm sure her team is working and doing they're probably doing their own investigation, if you want to know the truth. If I got money and I got a security team, hell, I might be calling Miss Maureen up in a minute. I need some private investigators over here right now. Find my mother. So I bet her security team is working right now. We've thought of all the angles over here. We went through a lot of this yesterday, and then hearing this, alleged information about the sibling being arrested, or not arrested, but car seized. Now, I couldn't find any information or updates from the police to confirm that, right? All they did was come out with their little no person of interest statement. We haven't heard anything about cutting of wires or cables yet. We've just heard smashed cameras, but we haven't heard about anybody cutting them yet. But that's always a possibility, especially if it's a planned potential kidnapping. You want to go around like back in the old days in the 70s when the bad guy come with it. What was the first thing they did? They clipped the phone line, the landline. Nobody has cell phones. And then the lady picks up the phone to call 911 and it's dead because the fool done cut the line. The power goes out. One time in the 70s, me and my two sisters, I was probably 7 years old. They're younger than me. We're doorsteps. We have these 3 little wooden rocking chairs, and we're watching TV. My mom was pregnant with her 4th, my little brother. My dad went to go somewhere, um, and I think he was, like, bringing back McDonald it's like we were waiting on dad to get back with dinner or whatever. So we're sitting there watching TV. All of a sudden, the lights go out. Right before the lights go out, my sister had a little wind-up toy that played Hickory Dickory Dock, and I hung it on the fence outside that day before we came inside. Right before the power goes out, I heard that thing come on, and I said to my little sister, no, I got up and I went to my mom and I told her I heard that come on, and I know it had to be wound to come on. As my mom walks back in the living room with me, the power goes out. She takes all 3 of us and shuffles us to her room as fast as she could, and we all got in the closet. There was 3 men outside, and they cut the power to the house. They were trying to break into my dad's racing shop next door. Before the police could get there, all my uncles were there taking care of business. My mom called my uncle, he called police, and then all the other uncles showed up. My dad gets back, there's cops everywhere, uncles everywhere, guns everywhere. So yeah, you're gonna walk up and try to disable anything you can. We wondered that in the Tepe investigation. Did old boy disable stuff by, pick locking in or cutting things? You think surely they have a person of interest, real happy. Well, maybe if there's any indication from the cell phone data they're getting back from the geofence warrants, the that main intersection there by the neighborhood, those cameras, the license plate readers, they're looking at all of that. What's that going to yield? Will it yield a person of interest? Can somebody say in the neighborhood, you know what, we heard a report over the past couple weeks that there was a stranger in the area, in the neighborhood. Now, so what if a neighbor says, you know what, I remember seeing a very specific car, right? And then they notice this car on these cameras the night of. I don't know. Can they tie it together? Yes, OG Feisty Cooter. I did see the autopsy reports for the Tepes. Thank you for reminding me of that. As I suspected, they were shot multiple times. What was it, 9? I think I have something saved on that. 9 times for Monique. Did I save that? Let's see. Da, da, da. He should be back in court soon, I think, too. I gotta look at my calendar. I've not been paying attention the last few days. Let's see. Yeah, 9 times for Monique, and what was it, 7? And there was the description of, let's see, she sustained 9 gunshot wounds with injuries to her head, chest, and extremities. Spencer sustained 7 gunshot wounds with injuries to his head, neck, and chest and extremities. I want to say one was his elbow, too, of his one arm, and the rest. I noticed that it was all like the left side of Spencer's body. So what would that tell us about where the perpetrator may have been standing, right? Was my first thought. I've been listening to Joe Scott too long. Hang on, guys. I'm looking for the thing I saw. Here, this might be it. Doesn't it just tell you even more about the perpetrator? It wasn't enough to walk in there and just one shot per person and do what you need to do, what he thought he needed to do. He went in there and just simply unloaded on them. So now they go back to the silencer we heard that he had. You can fire it that many times and it's not going to be making that bam, 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 bam gunfire um, that would wake up everybody, right? That's not the one with the more descriptive details. I'll probably get all that together and do a case update show in the morning. I'm going to roll in the morning around 10 a.m. probably, um, and do a update show on the McKees and see what all I can find as far as the court stuff goes as well. Yeah, he looks proud. He doesn't, to me, he doesn't look like he has a lot of emotion there. Like something left that man a long time ago, and I don't know what it was. You know, and look at all these cases. Every case we talk about daily, there's evil. There's pure evil in it. Who could do that? How could they do that? True crime has taught me humans are capable of doing a lot of things to each other. A lot of things. Whether it's, bullshit fighting or if it's like trying to hurt each other. I'm not surprised by a lot of it anymore. It takes a lot to surprise me anymore in true crime when I hear how someone died or at the hands of the person that committed the crime. There's not a lot left that shocks me anymore. That might be sad, but it is what it is. All right, guys. Well, I think I'm going to let you go for the afternoon. I'm going to chill and find something for dinner and see if any more updates come down that we can really, look at. If any more suspicion arises, we can look at that as well. And I will get some of the information I can on the tepes as well, and we'll get updated on that stuff in the morning as well. And there was that document in the Idaho 4 case. They're still waiting on. I don't know what they're waiting on each other to make up their minds about stuff, and then maybe we'll get some documents dropped down into that case soon or eventually. Humans are vicious predators, Simi. Goodness. Just ask Justine, you're coming in late. Well, please go back and rewatch if you don't mind. We appreciate that. We started the show at first, and it quickly went south, and I had to take it down and start all over. So, fortunately, it all worked out when we came back up. We did good. Nice save, if I say so myself. I should have fixed it beforehand, but I really thought it was going to be okay today. But whatever. Interior walls. What did Dolphin say about interior walls? Oh, you're talking about the shots being fired maybe with the silencer? Oh, you're talking about the 3 casings left? I was interesting you brought that up, Happy, because I was watching something with like crime scene experts or whatever talk about retrieving evidence from a scene, and that a lot of times a perpetrator will go to collect bullets or casings, and if they're in a hurry, they're probably going to miss one. I don't know. They found 3. Did he pick up everything else and run away with it? And he missed those 3, rolled under the bed or something to that nature with out of sight where he just didn't see it. There's a lot of unanswered questions there as well too. Of course, Rachel, we're going to always hold out hope that Miss Nancy Guthrie is alive and well, but as time passes, I think a lot of us lose a little bit of hope with that, especially with her conditions, that she's going to require this medication eventually before her body starts to react. It is what it is. She may do okay for a day or two, a couple days. After that, we're going to get into dangerous territory. She has a pacemaker for a reason. She has these medications for a reason. So let's hope that she's okay, because no elderly lady deserves this. I mean, she was a nice lady by all accounts as well. I mean, it could be your mother, it could be our grandmother, it could be anybody's. It could be your neighbor. You just never know. And to have somebody walk into your home, that's your safety, that's your sanctuary, that's your everything. You're so violated once that happens. But dumb criminals are very helpful, so Joy. Yeah. All right, guys, I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to go find some dinner and all the things and look out for some updates this evening. And I'll meet you guys back up here in the morning, and we'll get back to we'll just do an update show in the morning on this case if there's anything that comes down through the night. The Tepe case as well. And if there's any other updates in the cases we have been following, I'm going to get those out to you as well. And of course, I'll continue. We are waiting on something to come down in the docket, I think, in the Idaho case, but I haven't checked today to see if it's been updated, but I will this evening. All right, guys. Well, y'all go have a good one and be safe on the YouTube streets. Take everything with a grain of salt. Oh, boy. Oh, I'm sorry. I was looking at Carolina's comment. The things he did to his brother and niece and nephew. Court TV showed the graphic pictures. Did they show them on the screen of the TV? Look, graphic photos are a part of court cases. Now, the judges call usually if they're shown or not to, like, the public. Like in Gannon Stock's case, the stuff was shown, but we only saw certain things. Oh, I got to get the update on Letitia's stupid appeal, too. Sit down, ma'am, with your stupid appeal. All right, appeals aren't always stupid, but in her case, I'm going to call it that because I can't with her. I can't with you, Letitia. All right. All right, guys. Well, y'all go have a good night, and I'll see you back here in the morning. Y'all have a good one.
Thank you all for watching this here video.